Good morning. Next title, that is post-structuralist critic. What does a post-structuralist critic do? This is the question. Okay. This is the next title under or in beginning theory text by Peter Barry. And the last point of discussion. Next part I told you it's going to be about the uh, example. Practically, we are going to do this. Text. We will take a textual example and we will see how the construction process happens. Okay. Now, what post-structuralist critics do? Actually, it should be what does post-structuralist or what do post-structuralist critics do? Or what does a post-structuralist critic do? That is the way it should be. Now, first point, they read the text against itself so as to expose. This is not a new term for you. Read the text against itself so as to expose what might be thought of as the textual subconscious. I told you, subconscious or even textual unconscious. You are not taking something from the outside or what is already available. You're taking more effort to bring something which is hidden, but it is already there. That is the main idea, main point. You are not bringing something new, but which is already there, you are taking out. Where meanings are expressed, which may be directly contrary to the surface meaning. That is it. Meanings are expressed which may be directly contrary to the surface meaning. Directly contrary means it's complete, directly opposing something which is entirely different. That is it. This is my end in the sense of my see, this is my closing. I'm going to be closed. I'm going to die. If you take that sense, that is contrary to the other meaning. This is my aim. I'm still continuing. I'm talking about continuing to work for something, to find out a meaning for my life, to find out an aim for my. This is my end. This is my aim, goal. Okay. So second point, they fix upon the surface features of the words. They fix upon the surface features of the words, that is, similarities in sound, the root meanings of words, a dead or dying metaphor, and bring these to the foreground so that they become crucial to the overall meaning. They fix upon the surface features of the words. Wait, just wait. Okay. See, they fix upon the surface features of the words, similarities in sound, the root meanings of words, a dead or dying metaphor, and bring this. See, and what is that? It's about you're finding out even minute features of words, even the difference in sound. And root meanings of words. See the etymology. When you are in search of etymology, you're finding out root meanings. A dead or dying metaphor. Sometimes the meaning which is not there in existence. You might have come across semantic changes and all while studying history of English language. Not just with one language. With every language you can see such changes. Certain words, there are some past meanings becoming obsolete. Archaic expressions, archaic words and expressions. From that also you can find out something new. And sometimes with the metaphors and bring these to the foreground so that they become crucial to the overall meaning. They become crucial to the overall meaning. Extremely depending that overall meaning will change. That's what you mean by being crucial to something. And then, yeah. The third point, they seek to show that the text is characterized by disunity rather than unity. We have already come across this. That is, they try to show that text is characterized by disunity. It's a house divided. We I explained it using the metaphor of a house where from the outside when you look, it's okay, fine. Everyone is living without much having much financial problems and all. But inside, if you look, it's a house divided. The people, they are not communicating things properly well. There is always a cold war. Parents and kids, they are not in a proper, they do not have a proper communication. Or elders and elders, other, see. Among elders, many opinion differences. So such a house which is internally divided but from outside it's so fine. This is the way we look at a text and we get a very surface level unified meaning. Yeah, it's fine in this way and that you are satisfied with that meaning. But now onwards, post-structuralism, deconstruction, they try to tease these things out. They try to show the disunity. Okay, and fourth the point, they concentrate on a single passage and analyze it so intensively that it becomes impossible to sustain a univocal reading. Just think about the word that I explained in the morning, or even end the two more meanings. Univocal means just one reading, one meaning. They concentrate on single passage and analyze it so intensively. On even just on one paragraph, they spend hours and hours. Each and every word and meaning they try to tease out. Hmm? That it becomes possible to sustain a univocal reading and the language explodes into multiplicities of meaning. The language explodes into multiplicities of meaning. It's about multiplicity. It's about exploding. You wonder, you stuck with wonder. This kind of a meaning is possible. This kind of a reading is possible. Wow. So this is the way multiplicities of meaning that those explode and we wonder at the possibilities. Just one text, one paragraph can bring this much difference. A different angle, looking from a different angle of just one paragraph can bring such a vast difference. Multiplicities of meaning. Okay, and next one. They look for shifts and breaks of various kinds in the text and see these as evidence of what is repressed or glossed over or passed over in silence by the text. They look for shifts and breaks of various kinds in the text and see these as this is about restating the points that is already taught, that are already discussed. Various kinds, shifts and breaks, where you thought it to be very unified and pakka neat. See, this is evidence of what is repressed or glossed over. What is repressed or glossed over or passed over. We didn't notice that because we were busy about finishing of reading and having a very brief idea about the text and go without much problems. Okay, this is about taking risk. You are swimming against a strong current. That strong current, actually, the established readings stand for the strong current, and you are swimming against that by your new readings. So definitely, it's a Herculean task. It's a task which demands much of your effort, pain, and brain work. Okay, you should be very integral towards the text. Only then you will see. You will spend your time. If you are only genuinely interested readers can do this. Otherwise, it's about glossing over. Who cares about if another meaning is for this word or that word? No. And such persons will never become a deconstructionist critic. And these discontinuities are sometimes called fault lines. I gave you this already. Fault line, it's almost like a geographical metaphor. It's a geographical metaphor referring to the breaks in rock formation. See, rocks or any other geographical changes, movements. It's about you don't observe it all of a sudden. So you not even like a flower blooming. Even if you look and if you observe, watch it. If you spend your whole time, you can definitely see that flowers blooming at a definite time. We do not see that because we are asleep during that time. Almost all is when very early in the morning, I think, or early in the midnight after actually these flowers start blooming. But even that you can observe with your bare eyes if you spend time on that. But geographical changes like see these rock formation or certain see fissures in these rocks. We cannot always see that with we have to spend. See, this is not about a process in 1 or 2 days. That's the problem. So it's very slow process. But these വിടവുകളാണ്, fault lines. It's a geographical metaphor, which is a very slow process, but definitely these fault lines, in years, after years, year after year, this will separate, and that big rock becomes separated and it becomes two. It gets sometimes divided into two or three or more than that. So this is about fault lines. So this is the way you divide a text. You find out the disunities in text. You think that yeah, the rock is perfect and it is never going to be divided. It is intact. Its shape will never change. Its size will never change. But after some years, if you go, you can see that to be divided, to be separated, and changing shapes even. Shaping. And so this is the way geographical metaphor that is used in deconstruction. After deconstruction process, what ethics may be like. The breaks in rock formation. So these breaks, after the break, very slow break, taking years and years, but after that, it completely separates from the parental, the huge rock becomes divided into 3 or 4 rock formation. So that new rocks are there, which give evidence of previous activity and movement. What does it all of it? It's not about some persons go and cut it using some machines. No, it's about inside out. It has its own. See, previous activity and movement we didn't see. That's all. Even we talk about the continents move, the islands floating on earth. Even see, you have to see, you have to think in terms of that. All the other, see, certain areas, land, apart from that, earth is completely, actually maximum percentage of earth even is covered with water. So if you look at from the outside, when you stand on land, you don't even think about that. But when you look from outside, you know, it's almost like our lands are drenched. It's sometimes floating in water. It's almost completely. We don't see people who live in coastal areas. They can see water bodies side by side, but we don't even think about that. When you see a river or stream, it's just about it. You think that we are occupying the largest land area, and that's just a sea or stream. But these water bodies combinedly, if you look, it comprises the majority, maximum area of Earth. You know, you might have come across it in EBS and all. So, if you look at Earth and its geographical activities, see, geographical studies see year after year certain lands start moving. The position of India will start. India will not be the same after some 1,000 years. It's not just about India. The whole land will float. So this is the way it says about. So this previous activity and movement in geographical geology, we can see a lot of such examples. And this is the way they take this metaphor as the way a text that will come out after deconstruction. And definitely they would like to say that this is not something new. You are not adding some new characters for the sake of bringing these changes. But this is about the previous activity which were taking place in a hidden manner or very minute way, not really accessible to our bare eyes. That means the glossing over of a text will never get you a deconstruction provision. Okay, so this is the 5 major points that are supposed to be observed by the deconstructive critic so that they can read a text reading the text against itself. No. Okay, textual subconscious is taken out. So surface features you are fixing upon, or the etymology or different meanings of words you are trying to take out. And another one is about the aim. They try to show the disunity rather than unity. Another one is about concentrating on a single passage, where in that strategy they are, in the method they are, that method is similar to that of new criticism, but new criticism they try to show the unity. They do not want read and read and read, concentrated reading they go for, explication they text they go for. But the problem is, once these people, post-structuralism and deconstruction, they when they try to talk about the disunity openly, well, new criticism tries to hide it. They even after they recognize that, oh, problems are there, disunities are there, but they do not try to project, or they do not try to promote that disunity. They try to say that text is in one way or other. Fine, it's okay. They don't go for a very hi-fi reading of a text, or a different meaning of reading. They do not try to come up with usually. Their aim is at giving more importance to text. New criticism actually is an opposed movement. It can be viewed as something opposing to new historicism, or historicism as such. Biographical criticism, giving too much of importance to authors, their I see life, their mental and moral and social living. Instead of that, you just give importance to text. That is their main idea. It's not about giving text importance and giving something, coming up with entirely new reading and all. No, it's very plain an aim they have. They do not want to give much importance to author's details and author's biography and biographical criticism, but about something, much importance should go to text. That is their point. After that, text such as divided and all to project such a thing, they do not go for. But here their aim even is different. Post-structuralism aim even is different in that way. Okay, yes. So univocal, they do not want to sustain a univocal reading, or universal reading even you can say, and they try to come up with multiplicities of meaning. Then last one, the shift and break and all, that is almost like after that you can come up with an entirely different reading with the making use of the things inside the text itself. That is, there is nothing outside the text. You have all the elements for you to deconstruct the text. Everything is available inside itself. Only one thing is needed, your own willingness to see it in a different angle, from a different angle. Okay, so that's all with this part. And next we are going to talk about deconstruction and example. Yeah. Deconstruction and example. Last title of this portion. Actually, this is not about a theoretical teaching, but exactly a deconstruction process we will come across. For that, we need the two forms we are using, or Barry is making use of, to deconstruct. So that we will have to talk about the surface level reading of the text first. Only then we will know what it is meant by deconstructed reading. How different it is from the plain reading, or the surface established reading, readily available reading. Okay, here let us just start reading this. Time will not permit us to finish it up still. I try here to give a clear example of deconstructive practice, showing what is distinctive about it, while at the same time suggesting it may not constitute a complete break with the more familiar forms of criticism. Suggesting it may not constitute a complete break with the more familiar forms of criticism. It's not about we will make use of the other ideas of certain other criticisms. Still, we will have a different reading. That's all. The three stages of the deconstructive process described here I have called the verbal, the textual, and the linguistic. The verbal, the textual, and the linguistic. So these are the three major stages in which a deconstruction process can take place. Verbal, textual, and linguistic. Very important. Okay? Yes. So this is the way you are going to analyze either on a verbal stage, or on a verbal, sort of textual manner or linguistic way. So this we will come across the points, ideas, and then only. Otherwise, explaining it before looking at the practical session will not do much help. So they are illustrated using Dylan Thomas' poem, A Refusal to Mourn the Death by Fire of a Child in London. We will see this poem. It's given as an appendix in this text. This is the name of the poem. A refusal to mourn the death by fire of a child in London. This is our main text, first text. Another one more example we will come across in appendix 2. That's why I took the text of Barry, the appendix part. I will just read the poem today and we will close the session and we will come across we will look at the deconstructive reading later. Okay. So, but while I read the poem, you have to think about the main ideas that come to your mind. Or okay, when you listen to this poem, what all details come to your mind? Even from the title, from the very title, you have to start thinking about that. Okay, I get this poem, and all of a sudden, what are the ideas that come to my mind? That will get us the surface level reading, and then we will see how this text is deconstructed using many other points or many other reference points. Okay, now just a reading of the poem I'm going to make, and you just listen to me. Dylan Thomas, A Refusal to Mourn the Death by Fire of a Child in London. Never until, sometimes I will concentrate, I will just highlight certain points, that's all. Never until the mankind making birds, beasts, and flowers. Just okay. Let us start with the title. Refusal to mourn the death by fire of a child in London. All of a sudden, total, at the surface plane, this is about death itself. How death of a child, whose death? A child's death. Refusal to mourn. What do you mean by mourning? You are crying, you are lamenting over the death. But here, the person talks about refusal to mourn. And we just we just gloss over the text for the sake of viewing the difference. This is the title. Okay, a child is dead. So, someone talks about refusal to mourn. What is happening there? We don't know. Fine, let's see. Never until the mankind making bird, beast, and flower, fathering and all humbling darkness, tells with a silence the last light breaking, and the still hour is coming of the sea tumbling in harness, and I must enter again the round zone of the waterbed, and the synagogue of the ear of corn shall I let play the shadow of a sound, or show my salt seed in the last valley of sackcloth or to mourn the majesty and burning of the child's death. Many things are told, and only at the end of the stanza you can see something about child's death. Before that, some points you might have just noticed. Let's continue reading. I shall not murder the mankind of her going with a grave truth, nor blaspheme down the stations of the breath with any further elegy of innocence and youth. Deep with the first death lies London's daughter, London's daughter, robbed in the long fronts, the grains beyond age, the dark veins of her mother, secret by the unmourning water of the riding Thames. After the first death, there is no other. So the title says about a child's death, but many things are told. Obviously, something is about the death, something is about Thames, something is about water, something is about London, elegy, innocence, something maybe about childhood, mankind, blasphemy. What all things are here? Grave truth, so breath, long friends, brains beyond age, all these things are told. So what do you get as a reader when you look at this poem? That is very urgent and important. If not the whole reading of the poem, we just strike our eyes on certain words like death, child, London, mankind, bird, flower, father. Those are still our sea trembling. Something obviously looming large about death. Obviously, death is again and again discussed. Murder as a term, grave truth, something breath, elegy. Elegy, elegy is about mourning for the death of a person. In elegy of innocence and youth, and all these ideas just keep it in mind, and we will go for the deconstruction of the same text. Okay, so definitely our time will not permit, but yeah, so that we will talk about three of the stages in a brief manner, and we will talk about the other points later. Okay, other points in the sense, the reading as such of this text in this manner we will talk later. But what do you mean by this verbal stage? Three of the stages we talked about: the verbal, the textual, and the linguistic. Hmm? Verbal stage is about close reading. If you want to go for the deconstruction of the text, if you are going in a verbal stage, if you are making use of the verbal stage procedures, you will try to look at the contradictions and paradoxes in a text. But just by looking at a verbal stage or verbal stage accessibility only, if you are making use, you cannot cannot come up with the complete deconstruction of the text sometimes. So okay, in one or two passages there may be contradictions and paradoxes. That parts definitely you can make use of the ideas in verbal stage too. See, looking at the contradictions and paradoxes in the process of deconstruction. Okay. But second one is textual stage. Textual stage, there you look at the whole overall view of the poem. That is shift, breaks, and see fissures in the whole text. Looking at the text completely, and then the omissions, all those all together. The other one, first one, it is about close reading, so that maybe one paragraph you are taking, or one stanza you are taking, and you are trying to find out the contradictions and paradoxes keenly well. But the second, textual itself, means complete text is analyzed as such, and you try to find out all these elements all together, not individually dealing with the stanzas or paragraphs or passages, individual dealing. Instead of that, you are making use of the whole text in textual stage. There you try to see the overall view and try to find out shifts, breaks, fissures, and omissions. That is about the personal point of view. See, we have already come across the tense, the shifting viewpoint, tone, tense, and all. Just by looking at one paragraph or two paragraphs, you won't be able to find it out. The tense inconsistencies, or the personal view, personal point of view inconsistencies, you have to look at the whole text, and that is why second stage is very broad in that sense. And what about the linguistic stage? Linguistic stage, obviously, you're making use of the linguistic features, like the words and their minute features, for making use of, or to come up with the deconstruction. Linguistic features, like what about the words and their meaning changes, the tone, the word and their features, all these, when you find out some differences, the elements are brought forth to the forefront, and you try to say that this text is not that naive as we think, or this text is, the meaning you give us not the only one. This also is possible. At any stage you can bring out something new. But if you, and one more thing I would like to tell you is, you cannot say that for the deconstruction of every text you have to go for all these three stages altogether. Sometimes with the verbal stage it will be enough. Finding out some paradoxes and contradictions itself, you can come up with a very different meaning of the text. Sometimes only after looking at the complete text altogether, the textual stage only you have to make use of. Sometimes only the linguistic stage. Some words meaning change and all can bring you some new elements, new readings. But some texts demand the whole all the three stages of one kind of which is taken here. Actually, Dylan Thomas form, the deconstruction of which makes use of all these three stages. That's why it is taken as the example. That deconstruction process not only makes use of one or two, but all the three stages it makes use of. The features of these three stages that makes use of to deconstruct. Some texts will not demand such all the stages you do not have to go for. Just with the one stage, one procedure, just by finding out some linguistic features itself, you can you can come up with a different reading. Hope the ideas are clear. Okay, so that's all for the day. Thank you so much for listening.